Two mega powers meeting here tonight.
The mega powers, brother.
The mega powers, yeah. Mega powers, yeah.
Hello, wrestling fans. This is DJ Magic J with
Scanduce, the hip hop original.
And Happy New Year to you, because I never done the Christmas episode because I was with Skillet at the Kick Out podcast, but I'm here. We're back. It's Magic J, Scanduce. What's popping? We got a guest with us.
Yes, man. So for episode number 15, special guest, another member of the Kick Out podcast, you know, our friend of the show, one and only Ashton. How you doing, brother?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Before we kick off, we have to welcome you to the Mega Powers. So we have to do the Mega Powers handshake. Welcome to the Mega Powers.
Get it in there, man. Yeah. So the first question we always ask, Ashton, where did your love for wrestling begin? How did you get into wrestling?
So I got into wrestling through like mates. I went around a mate's house, and his older brother was watching the Royal Rumble, the one that the Undertaker won. So I guess I'm a generation younger. In 2007, and I was like mesmerized by the Undertaker. As a 10-year-old, I was like, "Who is this guy? Who's this dead man?" And I just like loved it. But I didn't have Sky at the time, so but we had like, you know, like the basic version of Sky. You got like Sky One.
Oh, yeah.
It was called like the WWE Experience. So I watched that like every Sunday, and all I did, I was like to my mum, I need Sky. I need it. So I can watch Raw and SmackDown, but it just, we just couldn't afford it at the time. And then I was so obsessed with The Undertaker. I just followed the WWE Experience every Sunday. And then you had like Batista, Shawn Michaels, Edge, Triple H, all these other people like all around. And just following the story of the streak, that's what got me into it. And the match with Batista at WrestleMania, that was my first WrestleMania that I watched. I just thought it was amazing. But I've watched it religiously ever since. And then Edge cashed in on Undertaker. I was like, damn it, not my Undertaker. I was just like constant. Yeah, I've watched it religiously since then.
Man, so would you say at the time, like historically and maybe even now, was Undertaker always your favorite wrestler?
Yeah, so Undertaker was my favorite, and then once I got to understand a bit more about it, Edge was one of my favorites because I thought he was just a great heel. Like he just wanted to be hated at the time, and then Shawn Michaels as well. Like as a technician in the ring, I thought he was great. And then the character of Undertaker is always something that I'm like, that got me into it. But then once I started to get the in-ring stuff, it's more Shawn Michaels at the time.
So when you first saw Undertaker, what was your thoughts? Because obviously, like I watched some of the reruns on YouTube and stuff like that, and there was that episode when was it Brother Love? Brother Love, what he was calling himself? Who brought him down, and then everybody in the arena was like, "Who's that?" And hiding their faces and looked like they wanted to cry because they see this guy dressed in, you know, walking down with his hat, walking like a robot. You know, what would your initial thoughts on that?
I just think his in-ring was just completely different to everyone else. So when I became obsessed with Undertaker, I watched all this Undertaker DVD from 1990 to 2005, like the build up to WrestleMania 21. And when I watched it, it was like his style was so different compared to everyone else, and like the believability behind it as well. Like he's obviously not a dead man, but there's something going on there. And just the story of it, the story in the ring as well.
Because a lot of people didn't realize that when he first came out, he was called the Kane, the Undertaker.
Yeah.
And that's how later on they stripped the Kane, and then later on, obviously, they done the storyline with his brother, the Kane.
Yeah. So I watched like old 90s videos of it, DVDs, And then the Undertaker Kane storyline. For me, I think what's got me into wrestling is the storyline aspect of it. And then as I've got older, it's the in ring. It's
Right.
like Brian Danielson, I'd say, is my favorite wrestler of all time
Okay.
now in 2024.
Right. So what would you say, obviously, as a child or growing up as a teenager watching wrestling, was like your, I don't know, favorite pay-per-view or favorite match?
So I think the WrestleManias were my favorite as a kid. I thought Edge Undertaker was very good, like a great match. A different type of match that the Undertaker had. And then also the Shawn and Undertaker matches. Every time I think like way back, what I think about is Undertaker, who he faced. Yeah, they were my favorite matches because there was a storyline to it. The streak, Shawn's career. Yeah, they were my
I
favorite
think Shawn
matches.
Michaels was a very entertaining wrestler because when I see Shawn Michaels in his prime, after the Rockers, he reminds me of how Ric Flair is. When you hit Ric Flair would do something stupid like jump over the rope.
Yeah, yeah.
He reminds me of the Ric Flair of how Ric Flair is. You know what I mean? So I don't know if you agree with me on that when it comes to the entertainment side of wrestling.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Shawn Michaels selling is like the best. The Hulk Hogan Shawn Michaels match, maybe he took it too far with his selling. But yeah, I think as a performer in the ring, you can't keep your eyes off of him. He's telling a story, constantly selling, and just makes it important. Yeah.
Of course, man. So as an Undertaker fan, what would you say, what was your thoughts when or how did you feel when Brock Lesnar broke the streak?
Oh, that was a sad day.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was in shock because I grew up in that era of it was all about the streak. And it was like it'll never be broken, it'll never be broken. I thought he'd retire with the streak intact.
Yeah.
And then when it happened, I watched it with my mate. I remember in secondary school, and we just were like, that shouldn't have happened. Like, he shouldn't have pinned him. Something obviously went wrong. But yeah, the call of it as well, and Paul Heyman just being like shocked himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was absolutely shocked about it. But I think now, like 10 years later, I think it was a good thing, especially
Okay.
for Brock.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm.
And what would you say is your favorite iteration of the Undertaker? Because there's been so many different versions of him over the years.
Yeah, I think I do like what would you call him, like the cowboy era of the Undertaker, the MMA when he put like MMA within his wrestling style rather than like the cartoon version of him.
Gloves and
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
and the triangle choke and trying to put all those things into it as well. They were my favorite.
The era when he started bringing out the motorbike.
Oh, that's the American Badass Undertaker.
Yeah, just before. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I think he was. I think that really suited him because that was the transition from him wearing the dead man suit to the hats to him saying, you know what? Let me show off all my tattoos. Let me show homage to all the bikers. You know what I'm saying? And I like that in him because he really showed a different style of wrestling. You know what I mean? Because like obviously when he was wrestling as the Undertaker from the 90s, he was more slow paced on the ropes, bam, but he was more like doing all these moves. I'm thinking, wait. I didn't know my man had that in him.
Yeah.
I didn't know he had these technical moves. Wait, where did Undertaker get these moves from? So what did you think about that side of him? Like, American Badass, didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, I thought, it was good because you could tell that Mark Calloway like enjoyed being the American Badass. It's probably what he wanted all along. Like nowadays, that's all he wants to do. But yeah, I thought that was good. But just because I knew him as the dead man all the way, and all in my opinion, all his best matches were for like later on in his career.
Okay, right. And you know what? I just had a thought. I was like, you know what? When he became the American Badass Undertaker, like was it ever explained how this guy went from zombie to biker
No,
and back to zombie again?
Oh, no, it
No.
was explained because
Was it?
remember, I swear he lost one of his matches, and it's like, you know, the reincarnation of him.
Yeah,
I swear it was
Yeah.
right. He lost the match. I don't know if he's a buried alive or
Buried
one of
alive.
Oh, it's buried alive. Yeah.
yeah.
And
And
came
then
back as a biker.
then I think the countdown came, and then something happened. I remember something of that sort, and then a handful of months he came back as this bad guy, as this American badass. So I remember something like that, the transition, because he would never transition unless something happened. So he transitioned as like, okay, then I'm dead. Now I'm ghost.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because from the American Badass, when he went back to Dead Man, he was buried alive, wasn't he? By Kane.
But you know what? I didn't really like the era when he changed a bit and he started wearing these weird beard designs, and then he had Edge and Christian and all these guys with him.
The Ministry of Darkness.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And he had the goatee.
It was cool. Yeah, it was cool.
I thought his theme was a banger.
Yeah, I like the American Badass because he didn't give a fuck. But Ministry of Darkness was like a bunch of. It was like a bunch of devils with him. You get me? It was like, okay, cool. Like, okay.
But you know what, right? That says a lot about the versatility of the character, man. Because if you think about it, The Undertaker was active for nearly 3 decades, you know, and it's just, and to keep a character like from going stale, like I can't think of a period where I was like, you know what, it's Undertaker's terrible. Why is he wrestling? You know, so it's been consistent for 30 years, man. Would you say, Ashton, that's one of the best characters in the history of pro wrestling?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Yeah. Yeah, he's the best character. Well, he stayed as that character for 30 years, and no one knew anything about Mark Calloway until the last like few years.
Mick Foley characters. Well,
Yeah.
What about Mick Foley? He changed characters like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
But I mean, I mean the level of commitment to the fact that, like you said, he never really broke kayfabe until he retired. You know, and then that's when you got to know who he was as Mark Calloway again.
Yeah. I think I prefer Undertaker to Mark Calloway a bit though.
To just change his name permanently like that.
Yeah.
Wow, man. So what would you say is like the legacy of the Undertaker for you, like, you know, as a character?
I'd say that the streak is his legacy. When I think of WrestleMania, I do think of Undertaker.
Yeah.
And the storyline with Kane, like the first storyline, and everything just being storyline based. There's always a reason for the matches. It's not just a random match, if that makes sense. There's always a build up to it, and obviously, and keeping the kayfabe in an era where no one else was doing that. That's his legacy.
I remember. I swear he turned Paul Bearer situation when Paul Bearer turned heel on him, hit him over the head with the urn. So that was like a big factor to his change as a wrestler as well.
Yeah.
And then you think about all the memorable matches, obviously the casket matches, the buried alive matches, Hell in a Cell match. I think he was in the first match. What's that?
Him and Jake the Snake Roberts.
Yeah. Like, just such an absolute legend, man. So with his, do you feel like the Boneyard match was an appropriate end to his career?
Yeah, definitely. It was really good. Like with AJ, it was a good way to end it because it got to the point like when he faced Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 33, and he was past it at that point. And I think it was a blessing in disguise that he had the Boneyard match rather than having an actual match with AJ Styles. It was a good match because it showed the legacy of Undertaker. It was the best way for him to end, and all the different iterations of him, because it was kind of like a blend of American Badass and Dead
Yeah.
Man as well. And then he goes off into the sunset on
Good
the bike.
acting, though. I got to
Yeah.
admit, good acting because
Yeah.
how they set it in like a barnyard type of, and then all of AJ Styles peoples came out and fought him. But the last part when he did, I don't know if he did have the motorbike and he drive up on the motor, but he put his hands up in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did like that when he put his hands up and turned his head. Like, I did
Yeah.
like that. See AJ, I love AJ. I've always followed AJ Styles from way back when. So for him to be AJ, I was shocked that them two went in. Because I thought you were someone bigger than AJ, but that was a good storyline.
Yeah. Because he's always, his best matches are always with smaller people like Edge and CM Punk, Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
It would have been a good match, but I think Undertaker's ability at that point was just, I was very of the mindset of he probably should have stopped after the streak ended or after the Punk match.
That's a good theory, man. Are you upset that we never got to see Undertaker versus Sting?
Yeah. That seems like, how did they miss that? I don't know how. Like, Sting was there. What I understand the WCW, WWE rivalry, Triple H, Sting, but no, I don't know who was asking for that. And it was just it was the year after, just before he ended this, got this streak beaten.
Yeah.
So a good way for him to go back
Right.
the WrestleMania after is to face Sting. No one's even thinking about the streak. You're thinking about this big all-time classic match that could have happened. It's a shame it didn't.
Yeah. There's a wild conspiracy theory that when Sting leaves AEW, that we might get Taker Sting at Mania 40. What do you think?
I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it now.
All right, okay. So when did your love affair for wrestling? Because I mean, obviously, we go from like fans, and then obviously since the internet now, we're all like marks now. We know what's going on behind the scenes, and did that affect your enjoyment of the product, like knowing so much more about it now?
Not at all. It made it even better. Because knowing what's going on behind the scenes and then seeing how it plays out on the live show as well. I think I got into it when I started listening to podcasts, probably 2014, 15. I listened to the Not Sound Wrestling podcast, Gorilla Position, and the Kick Out, which is very ironic now. And they were the three that I listened to. And nowadays, I just, all I'm doing is listen to podcasts like constantly. If I'm not listening to podcasts, I'm watching YouTube news reports about what's going on. It really has like made my fandom even like better and more intriguing, and everything going on backstage.
Right.
So talking about fandom and talking about you being up to date with the whole wrestling industry, have you been to any WWE, WCW, AEW matches in the UK or even traveled to America?
I've been to, my first one was actually in 2011, and the first one, it was at the O2 Arena, and it was the time R-Truth turned heel on John Morrison, and it was one where he started smoking in the arena. With little Jimmy. So I went then, and then when I went to drama school like 7 years ago. And one of my best mates loved it too, so we'd go every year, like 2016, 17, 18, 19. And then I wasn't able to go and watch Money in the Bank just because it was a lot of money. So I watched SmackDown the night before. So I try and go every year.
And what was it? Talk me through that first experience of watching WWE live, because I remember the first time I saw WWE live, it was really overwhelming, man. I was just like, and then also you got to get used to the fact there's no commentary. So I mean, did you have half decent seats? What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, we were on like the second tier. So my mum took me. I was younger then. Yeah, so we watched. We were on the second tier, and we watched. Like there was John Cena, Randy Orton, CM Punk, like all these people I'd watched like 5 years on TV, and then I'm just seeing them there, and in my like 12-year-old mind, I'm just like, what is going on? But they're tiny at the same time. I remember the ring just every time they slammed on the ring, it just makes a massive like echo because I think they put microphones underneath as well. And also the bits when they go to like commercial breaks, just like okay, this is the moment when they've gone to like the adverts where they're putting them in the rest holds and doing the dives out of the ring. But yeah, it was surreal watching it without the um commentary. It was very odd. But then you get into it because everyone's like chanting. I think the UK fans are like the best when it comes to the chanting and stuff. Yeah, it is quite surreal, but I've got used to it now because I've been quite a bit. But when I first watched it, didn't feel real because they were the people I'd watched on TV for years.
Right.
Honestly, I can't wait to go to a WWE match just to hear Dominic Mysterio get booed because every time I watch. I love the Judgment Day, yeah. I love the Judgment. I'm a big fan of theirs, yeah. But like, when everyone's telling me that they've heard Dominic get booed, the boo what we hear on TV to the boo what we hear in the arena is like same boo but two different boos at the same time. And I don't want to hear that. Doesn't feel like shit. He's really getting booed. Like they really like him.
I wonder if he's going to be like a mega, baby face at some point. Because that's normally what happens, isn't it?
Because think about it this way, it's just like 1, 2, 3 Kid, Sean Waltman. It's like, for example, like how he came into it and the storyline between him and Razor Ramon and him beating Razor Ramon 1, 2, 3, hence why he got the name. He was that babyface heel back in the days. He was like the first guy I see doing all these, high flying, Karate Kid type of moves, back then. So if he can do it and then he can leave, WWF, WWE to go to WCW and, join NWO. And once you're NWO, you're NWO for life. Why can't Dominic do it?
Yeah. It's just funny though, because his growth, like 2 years ago, people were writing him off.
Yeah.
He's rubbish. Yeah. But he's in the perfect role now, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. They say that his I don't know whether to believe it or not, but when he's talking, they lower the mic to make him set the booing louder, but they're still booing him.
Yeah.
So do you not think the man who does this, is going to get a title? I think he's going to get a title. sorry. I know I just put a random apple, man. I got fruits, oranges.
I don't think so. I think he's there to elevate the younger talent now. Yeah. Unfortunately, I love Carlito growing up.
Yeah, that's true, man. So like you said, you was watching your podcast, you watched the Kick Out podcast. Talk me through the moment where you I guess met Skillet and was invited to join the Kick Out podcast. How did that come together?
Yeah, so yeah, I always listened to the Gorilla Position and the Kick Out and was aware of Skillet's work for years. And I followed him on Instagram, and every time he put a post when you do the press, media press stuff, I'd just be like, oh, that's so cool. And then he'd reply, and I'd be like, oh wow, he's replying to me. And then I posted quite a lot. We'd post talk to each other quite a lot on Instagram about what's going on in WWE. And then funnily enough, he works with someone I know, and she was like, "Oh, Skillet mentioned you the other day," and I was like, "Oh, okay." He said, and then I was like, "Oh, I'm going to contact him and just let him know I was mentioned." And it was during Money in the Bank, and I just messaged him being like, "I love your work, and if he could help me out and get into doing what you guys are doing." Right. And making wrestling content because I love it so I love it so much, and it's all I ever think about and watch. was like, I might as well just embrace it. There's a part of me when I was younger where I was like, I don't want to tell anyone. It was like a dirty little secret growing up at school. Yeah, and then we just started talking, and then we just had like a chat about what I was wanted to do, what I was into, and then he invited me to like be a part of the kick out team. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah.
Oh, amazing, man. So you in your bio on Instagram, you call yourself a wrestling enthusiast. Where did that moniker come from?
Why did I say that? I think it's just I'm just very enthusiastic about it. If someone asks me about wrestling, if my wife asks me, I'll just talk for an hour about it, even if she doesn't want to hear any of it. I'll, I'll just keep going and going. There's a part of me like when someone doesn't like wrestling, or they oh, it's a bit fake, and they start talking to me. I'm like, are you sure you want to ask me this question? Because I'm going to be ranting for like an hour. So I'm just very enthusiastic about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Given the opportunity, would you ever consider training to be a wrestler, or if the opportunity came your way?
So yeah, I went to drama school. So I studied theatre. But the main reason I got into theatre was because I just loved wrestling, and it was my moment of like coming up with scenes. Obviously, we didn't end up fighting, but uh, and then when I went to drama school, we did a lot of like physical theatre and stage combat. I was like, actually, I really enjoy doing this. So when I graduated, I actually went to I trained progress wrestling on their like beginner course.
Oh wow.
But not for long. It was like 3 months, and then I wasn't able to because of like acting commitments and things. I wish I carried it on.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, you're
but
still
yeah,
young, right? You
I
can still come back to it, right?
yeah, I just need to get those muscles.
Bulk up a
Though I
bit.
do, yeah. No, I'd
But
love
can I
to. Yeah.
talking about acting?
Mm.
How does that go through? Because in the last, as I say, 5 years, we've been getting a fast growth of British black actors, definitely taking over Hollywood and America. So, what do you think about us going over there, taking those main roles, and even yourself getting into the acting world? And where are you going with your acting side of things?
Yeah, I think it's a great thing having black actors going to Hollywood and doing the roles there. I do wish there was more roles that was more about like British black people rather than like in America. That's what I would like to see more of. But yeah, I don't think you know British black actors are taking anyone's roles or anything like that. I think it's really good, and um, yeah, I'd like to do more of that TV work. At the moment, I've done a lot of theatre and
Mhm.
things. That's one reason why I didn't have time to train because if I break my arm, then I can't do
Mm.
theatre and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a good thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if it's a case that you can't get physical, maybe you can do, I guess, a management role. Have you ever thought like what your wrestling character would be? Has it got a name or?
Hmm. Maybe I should be like John Cena and just keep my name so I've got the rights to it forever. um, I don't. I was thinking about like commentating as well,
Oh,
or like like hosting, presenting.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's something that I'd be into. You guys shouldn't have said this training stuff because now it's like going on in my head right now.
Don't worry, man, because we're looking to go to one of these wrestling academies very soon. You know what I mean? Because
Mm,
Darren now we're connected with Hustle Wrestling, and there's a wrestling they're in Enfield, and then there's a wrestling school in Wolverhampton. So we're definitely gonna go there. Now. When we go down there, if you
mm,
got to come or anybody else who's been on the Mega Powers platform wants to come,
yeah,
come with
I'll be
us.
there.
Let's have
Yeah.
a party.
Yeah,
Right.
when I took a bump, I was like, ah, okay,
Yeah.
that's painful. But you
Yeah.
get used to it after a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So you mentioned Progress Wrestling. So I mean,
Mm.
obviously you got into wrestling through WWE, but I
Yeah.
mean, were there any other like wrestling companies outside of WWE that you'd say you're a fan of or you got into over the years?
Yeah, I'm a bit of a WWE stan, I'd say. I'm mainly WWE. If I hear about a match like that's happened in Progress or um somewhere else, I will go out and look for it and watch it. Because I'm not based in London, I can't go as much. Like I think if I lived in London, I'd go every time. Um, I'd say the only other one would be AEW that I watch like, consistently.
Yeah.
Um,
Because you mentioned being a big fan of Daniel Bryan or Bryan
yeah,
Danielson. So I
yeah,
mean,
Mhm.
you must have watched a few of his matches in AEW, right?
yeah. I don't miss any of his matches on
Yeah.
AEW because I I don't watch AEW consistently like I do Raw and SmackDown. I always watch the pay-per-views. I always keep up with that.
Yeah.
But I find I find with AEW, it doesn't matter if you've missed one episode. Um, you can just jump straight back into it.
Right.
Mhm.
Whereas I feel like with WWE, if you stop watching, you'd be like, okay, why are they fight like, why is Roman? I thought he was fighting Cody Rhodes, and now The Rock's facing him, and it would just be very,
Right.
Um, but yeah, AEW, WWE. I watched a bit of New Japan
Hmm.
recently, like Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah.
Um, and I always go out of my way to watch matches that like people have like raved about, talked about.
Okay.
But I really want to go to more indie shows. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. So when
Mm.
you're next in London, maybe, because I know there's a Progress show on Sunday, man. But
Yeah.
right. So just to wrap, man, what would you say is your thoughts on the current WWE product? What do you
Uh,
think about where it's at right now?
yeah, I think right now it's the best it's been for a very
Mm,
long time. It's been consistent with storylines. It seems to be more fan based now.
Mhm.
And um, when like years ago, you'd want you want it to be Daniel Bryan in the main event, but Vince will try his best to make Batista in the main event. I know there's like the Cody Rhodes The Rock thing going on at the moment, but that's a different story. But like everything seems to um, pan out the way you think it should go. I feel, and then with some surprises, like you've got CM Punk coming in, but everything. I think what they're doing with the championships at the moment, making them like more legit, making them have longer reigns, making them more important. I think that's really good instead of flip flopping one going to the other.
right.
Uh, but yeah, storyline wise, I think they're doing really well at the moment, and I wonder how long it's going to stay.
I think The Rock's gonna come in and take or should I say, be the head of the table because he did announce it a couple of weeks ago.
Mm. Yeah, I like a couple of weeks ago. I was like, okay, that's it. Cody's not in the main event, but everything seems to be a bit quiet now about The Rock and
Mm.
Roman. Obviously, there's big news about The Rock today, but The Rock and Roman situation with the main event. There's a part of me where I'm like, I need to know what happens at the Royal Rumble first before I can really be like, okay, The Rock's definitely in the main event at
Well, there
WrestleMania.
is a triple threat. There was a triple threat now, so obviously, Roman's
Mm.
life away now.
Oh,
So
allegedly.
allegedly,
Interesting.
But I mean, as someone that watches a lot of like, I guess you say YouTube shows and podcasts
Mm.
and stuff like that, and obviously a lot of these people trying to get the background information and spoiling things. I mean, does that kind of mess up your enjoyment of the product, or do you think that Hunter's kind of figured it out now and he's managed to keep certain things a secret?
Yeah, I I try and avoid spoilers.
mm,
I rather be surprised. Um, but sometimes you see news videos on YouTube be like, these two people are coming back in the Royal Rumble. It's like I'm not clicking on that. I don't want to know who it is. You know, I want to be surprised because that's the fun about the Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I do like keeping up with everything that happened with CM Punk recently is fine, but anything to do with they might this person might be coming back. Damien Priest's going to cash in tonight. I'm like, I try and avoid it. I try and avoid it. I
yeah.
want to be surprised.
Sometimes these companies put those stories out themselves just to like,
Yeah, yeah,
You know, so it's always fun seeing that, man. So I mean, you mentioned the Rumble. We got the Rumble on Sunday. I mean, do you have a prediction? Like, it's always good to throw a prediction out there. How do you think it's gonna go?
For the men's rumble, I think it will be CM Punk. I think CM Punk will win the men's Royal Rumble.
Really?
And main event with Seth, if Seth is well healthy.
He fucked up his leg.
Yeah.
I never watched. I never got to watch Raw last night. I need to catch back because I fell straight to sleep. I was so tired.
The promo with him and with CM Punk and Cody Rhodes is
Phenomenal. Phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think
so
maybe
don't tell me. I'm gonna watch it, man.
I won't tell you. I won't spoil it.
I want to know if he relinquished his belt or he said, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna go ahead with it with my brook leg. But he's a crackhead anyway, so he would do it. You don't even know crackhead powers. That's what he's got right now.
Wow. So who have you got for the women's Rumble?
For the women's, I feel that's a really hard one.
Yeah.
It's between Becky and Bailey, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
Becky or Bailey.
I think, but I'm gonna say Bailey, just so I've got a definite.
Okay.
I think Becky can get there in another way.
I know Magic J's got Jade Cargill, right?
Oh my god, I can't. She needs to hurry up and come in, man. And that's like I know she's married, but she like look, Jade Cargill, hurry up and come in, man. Triple H, what are you doing, brother? You get what I'm saying? Bring her in. Let her do something. Oh god, she's the storm of wrestling, man. Come on.
Yeah, she's got to make an appearance in the Rumble.
Yeah.
I saw someone saying the other day, like maybe she, makes a surprise entrance and takes out Nia Jax or something like that and build something there.
Yeah, that'd be amazing, man. Right. So Magic J, I mean, do you have a prediction or do you agree with what Ashton's saying?
You know what? Let's see what the fuck happens. I don't have no prediction right now. You get me? Let's see what fuck happens and just call it a nose from now. Like, let's see what happens. Simple. Let's see what happens. I don't give a fuck. Let's see what happens. But I want something to happen in Royal Rumble. If it doesn't happen in Royal Rumble, I want some fuckery to happen in WrestleMania. Done.
Wicked. Ashton, bro, I want to thank you so much for taking time to kick it with the Mega Powers, man.
Where can we find you? Yeah, how can people reach you? If people want to book you for an acting role, yeah, in their movie or short clip, where can they find you at, brother?
Yeah, on Instagram I'm Ashton_Owen, and then on Twitter or X, whatever it's called, Ashton Owen _. Yeah, I also have a little wrestling fan account that sometimes I post on that. It's called The Wrestling Take.
Where can we find that?
It's called at Wrestling Take. It's a very lonely Instagram account at the moment that I will start posting in more often.
Right.
Yeah.
So would you say you've got a long-term plan of how you'd want to progress in the future, like in terms of this I guess wrestling content, heavy direction we're going in right now? Because there's so much content out there.
Yeah, there is, yeah.
So many more podcasts popping up and all of that stuff. Is that a route that you'd want to pursue one day, or is there a plan for that?
Yeah, I want to start making, starting off just my own thoughts, like reactions, reviews, predictions, and see where I go from there, and hopefully start interviewing people as well. Yeah, because of my career, my acting career, everything's just I have to pick one or the other. Yeah, but I want to start doing it properly. Yeah.
Awesome, man. So like I said, we've come to the end of our interview. We've given you guys our predictions for the Saturday's Royal Rumble. Saturday, not Sunday, according to Gunther. And yeah, Magic J, you gotta watch Raw, man. The Mega Powers. Where can they find the Mega Powers online, Magic J?
It's all platforms on the Mega Powers TV. Every single platform that you can think of, the Mega Powers TV, and it'll be down here in the description.
Yeah. So as well as these podcasts now, we've also got Mega Powers vlogs. We've just released 2 episodes, and yeah, expect more of them coming in the near future, as well as more interviews. So yeah, so Ashton, for one more time, man, thank you for coming on the Mega Powers podcast. And yes, bro, lead us in one final Mega Powers handshake as we go.
Mega Powers.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Hello, wrestling fans. This is DJ Magic J with
Scanduce, the hip hop original.
and we are the Mega Powers TV.
And what we're giving you is exclusive pro wrestling content. You get interviews, you get podcasts, and a whole bunch of other things.
So just remember, peoples, like, comment, share, subscribe to your friends, your family,
Your enemies.
and your loved ones. So just remember, we are the Mega Powers podcast TV, and we do everything else wrestling. The Mega Powers.
2 Mega Powers meeting here tonight.
The Mega Powers, brother.
The mega, yeah, the mega, yeah, the mega powers, yeah. Mega powers, yeah.